Another offensive outburst for Greg Butcher and the Simon Street Mets, and there's a new team atop the GASWL standings. And the Owls, 2 weeks ago an endangered species, have won 5 in a row to surge into third place. And finally, with just a few games on tap for Week 7, find out which team could be moving on up in the standings this weekend. All this and more coming at you on Tough Knucks. Welcome, ladies and gents, to Tough Knucks, the show that just won't go away. I'm Chet Riffy, flying solo this week. The search for Scottie Pippen continues, and now my replacement partner in crime, Lou Duchess, has headed up a search team to ensure Scottie's safe return from the dauntingly high elevations of Central Asia. Of course, Lou's in even worse shape than the untrained Scottie Pippen himself, so one has to wonder if he was the best choice to lead the rescue team. But hey, second guessing isn't what we're all about here on Tough Knucks. We simply keep praying that our two distinguished co-hosts return safely from the Himalayas. Also, before this week's show, I must remind everyone that our program is now spelled Tough the conventional way, Knucks, which is admittedly considerably less badass than the Tough with 2 F's variety. Apparently the phrase Tough Knucks with 2 F's is a registered trademark to some sort of company that manufactures protective industrial gloves. I'm not aware of all the details, just that we don't want a cease and desist letter falling on our doorstep here anytime soon. Now let's get right to Week 6's action. We start with the early games. It was the Owls taking on the Grizzlies and Eric Morrissey providing the offense for Pinehurst Avenue. Here comes the 2-1 pitch from Giroux. And Morrissey hits this one deep to left. Back, and see ya! A 2-run home run for Eric Morrissey, and the Owls jump out to a 3-0 lead. Morrissey knocked in all 4 runs the Owls scored, and that would be more than enough because it was Mike Benoit throwing another complete game shutout and improving to 3-1 on the season, and the Owls moved to 6-3. Morrissey wasn't done, though, and neither were the Owls, because it was Morrissey throwing a shutout of his own in the 3 o'clock spot against the Pelicans. Both Morrissey and Norman dazzled on the mound. It was a hard-fought pitcher's duel, scoreless until the 5th, when the Owls finally broke through for the game's only run. Morrissey improves his record to 2-0 on the hill, and the Owls have swooped in and seized 3rd place in the league. They are now perched in that spot with a 7-3 record. Now over to Maryland Drive, where the Mudcats were unable to distance themselves from the last-place Grizzlies as they fell victim to the Mets by 2 touchdowns and a field goal. 17-0 was the final there. Got no easier for them at 3 o'clock when they faced the Pelicans, who were coming off a tough loss to Pinehurst Avenue. The Mudcats made it interesting, but couldn't get the key hits they needed. 7-4 Pelicans was the final in Game 2. And in primetime was Greg Butcher's timely hitting combined with a rare poor outing for Tom Anderson, who just couldn't seem to find his control. Between his team's 2 games, Butcher had 12 RBI and 2 homers. The elder Butcher was locked in all day and carried his Mets to a 2-0 Saturday to improve to 8-2 and take back control of 1st place in the league. The Thunder salvaged a 1-1 record on the day. In the early game, it was a close one against Central Street. John Anderson started for the Thunder, and despite getting the no decision, drove in 2 key runs to lead his Thunder over the Snappers. 7-5 was the final. The Thunder took the lead back in extras, and it was Matt Berthume pitching in relief and picking up the win for James Street. We now go to the standings, brought to you by Non's Lawn Care. The Mets lead the Thunder by percentage points for 1st place, with the Owls a game back in 3rd at 7-3. Pelicans are in 4th place, they're 7-4. 4 and 7 Snappers are holding it down in 5th place, and the 6th place Mudcats are 2-9. And bringing up the rear are the Ward Street Grizzlies, still in 7th place, they're at 1-10, despite giving almost every team a tough game. The Grizzlies still very much alive for a playoff berth, just a game back of the 6th and final spot. And it's at this time that we remind everyone to check out our official website located at gaswltimes.wordpress.com. This week it's Zacharias Stutzkowski talking about the front runners who have emerged in this year's Triple Crown race. Riveting stuff going on at the GASWL Times. And this week brings us Rain Out Week, featuring all the matchups that have been postponed due to inclement weather. And after this weekend, each team will have played exactly 12 games. For a preview of these matchups, we head over to Carl Pivington in Studio B. Carl?
Thank you, Chet. It's a short schedule this week, just 4 games on the docket. We start at 2:30 with the first place Mets hosting the 4 and 7 Snappers. While that's going on, the Mudcats travel to Rochdale Street to take on the 7 and 4 Pelicans. Also at 2:30, the Grizzlies with a tough test against the surging Owls. The Mets and the Owls are the only 2 teams with doubleheaders going on this week. They face off against one another at 3:30 in primetime Wiffs. It's a short week, but it's not short on excitement. Now back to Studio A. Chet?
Thank you, Carl. Now let's head over to the weather desk where Rick Riggleman has our first pitch forecast. Rick?
Thank you, Chet. My thoughts and prayers also go out to Lou and Scotty for a safe return to their anchor desk. This Saturday will feature extremely hot weather, with a high of approximately 93 degrees Fahrenheit. With a high forecasted relative humidity, the heat index may push the ambient temperature close to the 100-degree mark. All players should use sunscreen and take extra precaution so as to remain properly hydrated throughout the afternoon. Now back to Chet.
Thank you, Rick. You know, you can't be careful enough with that sun beating down, especially you pale-ass motherfuckers who are in the GASWL. Please take extra precaution this week. It looks to be a real scorcher out there. Well, folks, that's going to be about all the time we have this week. Thank you for listening. We remind everyone to stay cool on Saturday. We'll see you next time on Tough Knucks.
Tough Knucks.